Yeah, it'll be fine.
Cool.
It'll be fine.
It happened at TCG. I had to take a long lunch break that day.
Open it up a little bit. Might not get a little bit of air, but
How are we looking?
Looking good. All right, everybody got a pen?
oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, welcome to the weekend, guys.
Yeah.
Super exciting. I think it's going to be a great time. If we haven't met, I'm Garrison. This is Cole, and Jay. We oversee just all the college ministry that goes on at Midtown. We've been kind of working as a team and just planning things, executing, and it's been really good. And we're really excited to be here with all of you. I think it's going to be.
I thought I did. Do it. No, he's recording. Do it. No, we're getting the ceiling. So it's gonna be great on the recording. Guys, please don't touch the phone.
Right. I think it's going to be a really great weekend. Before we get into anything, I just want to pray for us before we hop into any content, just to reset. So, Father, thank you again that we get to be here together. That because of your grace, through Jesus, we are saved, made family, and by your grace we get to grow, become more like him, and be shaped and get to lead out on the mission that you've given us, which is to spread the gospel, see people transformed and changed and brought to you. So pray that you would equip us to do that this weekend. And we thank you for that. Pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So tonight the point really is thinking back about 6 months. That's kind of when we started having all these conversations with, I think, everyone in the room. We started talking about college leadership, that we want you to be on the bus. We want you to be on leadership. And there was a lot of questions, a lot of things coming up with that. So what we wanted. Anybody want to do anything? Right.
That was great. Awesome.
Good. That's you?
How did that happen?
I don't know how it happened. It was muted and paused.
That was Cole's laptop.
That was cool.
Spotify, baby.
Good.
Yeah,
That's good.
But why did it just start? Right, that's the question.
I thought that was like your.
Oh.
Anyways, as we were having these conversations, there were a lot of questions. So before we get into anything new, we want to start with why we're doing this. We're rolling out a lot of new things, so we want to get everyone on board with what it is, why we're doing it, why it's actually good. So that's where we're going to be tonight. To unpack all that, I want you guys to take notes. Like Cole was saying, there's a lot of valuable content all throughout the little packet, so keep that handy this weekend. Take notes, but also keep hold of it even after this weekend. So I want to start with what is college leadership? What are we doing here? How did we get here? So this group is a culmination of about a year and a half of 2 years of prep work on our part. So Cole and I got asked to be on this college lead team by Jay and a couple other pastors about 2 years ago. And we really started, looking around, thinking about what are these other churches doing well that we like? What are things that we want to try? What are things that would work? And we immediately got to start trying some things. And some things were really good. And we also tried some things that were, some misses.
R.I.P. brunch.
Like brunch, if you were there last semester.
Who went to brunch? Anybody go to brunch?
Anybody go to brunch?
That's why we're not doing it anymore.
That's everyone that came.
Great idea, though.
Great
idea.
We had some good pancakes.
Love all you for going.
We had some good pancakes.
Yeah.
But we also had some really good things that stuck. I can remember Cole and I, probably right around the time we got asked to start leading out on college stuff, Cole went to a conference in Iowa, and he saw this gathering that they were doing like a worship service on this college campus, and he comes back and he's like, that that was amazing. Like, there was a lot of people there that worshiped Jesus on this campus. That would be amazing if we could do that. And we sat there and we were like, yeah, in like 3 years, that'd be great if we could do something like that. That'd be really cool. And we started, we talked to some people about it, talked to the pastors, and the next semester, we're doing First Five, worshiping Jesus on USC's campus, seeing God's kingdom expand. And I don't know if you were there past baptism, but someone met Jesus at First Five.
Yeah.
Someone got baptized into our family because they went to First Five and heard the gospel. Like, that is mind-blowing to me, that something like that could happen. But that is what God has been doing as we plan. It's been really cool.
It genuinely was so crazy. I remember, like, it wasn't even just us. Like, we talked about this idea of doing an on-campus gathering, and we talked about it with, like, Jay and Adam and everyone we were supposed to talk about it. And, like, everyone thought, this is actually a really good idea. I just don't know that we can do it right now. And, like, to the point of leaders left for the summer, and we did not tell them we were doing on-campus gatherings because we did not know we were going to do on-campus gatherings. And they got back, and it was like, hey, we're doing on-campus gatherings.
Yeah.
You should come. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So it was just like, it's so insane to look back now and see what First Five was, and even hearing about people meeting Jesus there, because it's like, literally a year ago was when we were figuring out, like, maybe we should do this. Why don't we try it? So
That's right. Yeah, and I think for me, I don't think we're going to talk about some of this, but it's just really cool to be in this room with you guys, because for so long, I have been involved with our spring break planning team, and that was kind of my direct line to college students, was working with the planning team, and I got like a year to spend with them and plan spring break, and it was about 6 people. And that was just about the full extent of what I was able to really be around. And now we've kind of blown that up a little bit. And I do want to emphasize a little bit, we have never done this. So what you guys are a part of right now has never been in. Catherine was like, I've never been on the leadership weekend. I'm like, I'm glad to be here. And I'm like, yeah, me neither. And she's like, well, how many of y'all done? I was like, none. This is it. Which is, I want y'all to feel the weight of how incredible that is, that for whatever reason, we've never had a felt need of, we should do a leadership weekend with our college leaders. And I think we've thought, like, we have spring break, we have college fall retreat, and then we also have leader meetings and sort of thing. But this is very specific to you, and I'm really excited about it. We've been praying about it. And so we're still figuring stuff out. So just like with brunch, there might be some brunch things that happen over the next year, but we're willing to try it to find out, and glad that y'all are on board as well. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah, I think even with the newness of all of this, it's just that we've never had a systematic college ministry. Like, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but there's a lot of college students that just show up at a gathering on Sundays. I mean, there's hundreds, and it's like, why? We haven't done a lot to get these people here. We preach the gospel, and college students have been attracted to that, and they always have, but we haven't been formal, and Jake can attest to that we haven't done a leadership. We have done, individual events, and we do spring break, and we have small things like that, but it hasn't been ever like this.
yeah, and even talking to pastors about kind of our job and why it felt the need to, like, why do we even need college directors? It's like, if you know a little bit about the history of Midtown, so about 10 to 12 years ago, some guys came and planted a church, and they ranged from 23 to 26. And so it's like, who do college students like? People that are 23 to 26. And so for like 5 or 6 years, it was like, there's no need to do college ministry because the majority of people at Midtown are college students. Like, that's who we're building with. That is our church. And as our pastors have continued to grow up and kind of have peers the same age, it's like, oh, we still have a lot of college students here. Not just college students come here. And so that's even why kind of some of this has happened, having a college ministry to begin with, because it's like it kind of came to us and we're like, we want people always thinking about college. Like, who's actually thinking about how is this best for college students? Even First Five was like, what do college students need to hear. Because we need to preach to the whole church, and absolutely part of our church is college students, but it's not everyone. And so even trying to go through Bible stories last semester and things like that is because we think our college students need this right now. Yeah. And so like Jay said and like Gary said, we're not going to do that perfectly, but that's what we're trying to do here. Of like, we want to be a part of Midtown. We are a part of Midtown. We're members, we're leaders at Midtown, but we're also our own unique group with our own unique mission, and that's kind of a big deal.
Yep. And that's how we started things. We said, okay, we've got life group leaders, we have our spring break team, we have students helping out with these events, but who's around and what do we want to do with them? So like Cole was saying, we think that forming together a people is the right way to go, and that's what college leadership is it's the people that we want, quote unquote, on the bus, the people that we want to be together. And then as we're thinking about who do we want on the bus with us, who do we want on college leadership, we start thinking about where do we want to go with that? Like, what is the point of this whole leadership thing? And I think the ways that we think about it are maturity, your maturity, and being on mission, and that's it. So we think about, maturity and your walk with Jesus and us together as a people walking towards that as a road trip towards Miami. So it takes a while, and we're going from Canada too. So it's going to take a hot minute to get to Miami from Canada, but that's what we want to do together. We care about everyone in this room, and we want to be together as we grow, as we mature, and as we're on mission together. So that is really the big part of what college leadership is and what the point of it is.
Yeah, and our first priority in everything we're doing is you guys. Because it's like, how are we pouring into our leaders? Absolutely. I'm not trying to say we want to do mission on campus, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about first week and first five and our strategies and how we want to go about that. But the reality is, we can be faithful, but we can't control results. But what we can control is pouring in to you guys. And so a year from now, I really hope we can look back and look at each one of these life groups we're starting and being like, wow, these 10 people are around because you started a life group. How awesome is that? But if we can look back a year from now and be like, look at how much you have grown because of doing this, that's a win. That's the whole point. We want you guys to be closer to Jesus because of this year. That's the why. You are believers first and leaders second. And that's something we try and live by.
Yeah,
That's good.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's good. So if you got a Bible, open it to Acts 17. So now that we know, what college leadership is, why we're doing it, I want to even peel back a little more and just say why it is we do college ministry at all. So does someone have Acts 17 read from 22 to 31?
Yeah. So Paul, standing in the midst of the Areopagus, said, "Men of Athens, I perceive that in every way you are very religious. For as I passed along and observed the objects of your worship, I found also an altar with this inscription, To the unknown God. What therefore you worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you, the God who made the world and everything in it, being Lord of the heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by man, nor he secured by human hands as though he needed anything, since he himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything. And he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place, that they should seek God, and perhaps feel their way toward him and find him. Yet he's actually not far from each one of us, for in him we live and move and have our being, as even some of your own poets have said, for we are indeed his offspring. Being then God's offspring, we ought not to think like the divine being is like gold or silver or stone, an image formed by the art and imagination of man. The times of ignorance God overlooked, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent, because he has fixed the day on which he shall judge the world in righteousness by a man whom he has appointed, and has given assurance to all by raising him from the dead.
That's good. So I'm not going to lie, Adam stole our thunder a little bit on Sunday with preaching this. We had some conflict there. But this passage is a vivid picture of the why. We're going to talk the rest of the weekend about what it means to be on mission on USC's campus. And I think this is it's an incredible picture of what mission is. So Paul is in Athens, he's in Greece, and he's going through all kinds of trouble. And he ends up in this cultural hub, and he preaches the gospel. He sees, if you listen to the sermon at all, he sees what these people are doing. They're worshiping all of these gods in this place called the Areopagus. But they also have this idol called an idol to the unknown God. So it's almost like they're doing this checkbox to make sure that they're worshiping all of the right gods. And I'm not trying to say that you need to be like little Pauls and this is just a perfect one-to-one connection. But if you walk onto USC's campus, you're going to see people worshiping a lot of idols. Yeah. You're going to be able to look around and, like Paul say, even though you don't know it, you're super spiritual. You're worshiping things like sex and money and relationships and success and perfectionism. And you can go down the line and see that. So really, as we're moving forward and thinking through, okay, we have our leadership. So we know what we are doing and why we're doing it. This is how we're doing this. This is going to people because we love them and seeing where they're at and saying, Jesus is better than your idols. Yeah. That is the whole point of us being in this room. Is this next year we're going to be going to students and saying, Jesus is better than your idols. You're worshiping a God that you don't understand. You're chasing things that only can be found in Jesus. I want to know you, and I want you to know him. Next part, you can write this down. Why is this good for you? So I'm going to have 3 points, so you can go ahead and write 1, 2, and 3 with some spaces in between them. We want to get into why is this good for you. So talk about what we're doing, talk about why it's good for campus, why it's good for life groups, why it's good for non-believers, but why is it good for you? So like we said, we want to be invested in your lives. Like Cole's saying, we want to look down the line and for you to be better because of this. We care about you. I think as we've been praying about this and just thinking through you and the people in this room, we've said, we care a lot more about your health and your maturity than we care about how many people show up the first 5. So more of our effort is going to be going into you and developing you than we're putting into getting people. And of course, we care about people coming to stuff. We want people to meet Jesus. But we're about relationally being in your lives. So point number 1, which I've already alluded to, is we want you to grow as leaders in the church. After this year, we want you to be a better leader. So I think Cole can attest to this. As we have had a lot of conversations with people about being in this room, as we did, check-ins and leadership applications, probably one of the biggest feedbacks that I got was, Garrison, Cole, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I'm ready to do this. I don't think I can lead. I don't think I have anything to give to anybody else. And for us, we're like, that's totally fine. That's the expectation. That's why you're here. We don't expect you to be perfect. We don't expect you to have it all together. That's why we're doing this. Because we see you, we care about you, and we want to get you to the place where you are viewing where you need to be. We want to walk with you there.
When we were in Iowa, I was listening to one of the guys talk, and he was talking to his new leaders about not feeling competent. And he said something that they had to kind of just get through as a culture is like, yeah, you're not going to be the best leader the first time you lead. That would be weird. That would be weird if you were the best leader the first time you lead. It's going to take time. You're going to grow. And that's the point. Of course you're not. You got to lift heavy things in order to grow.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, of course it's hard to lift the heavy thing.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, every year when we do the spring break trip, it is a ton of weight for people to carry. And no one is strong enough to carry it. But by the end of it, everyone's going, wow, that was exhausting. And but now they're actually have the ability to do that leadership. It's the same thing in premarital counseling. people get married in their first year of marriage. They're like, I just thought I would be better at marriage than I am. And it's like, why? You've never been married before. Of course you're not.
They would think
Of
that.
course you're not as good as you thought you would be. Of course it's difficult. You've never had to do this before. So that's the goal. Of course, we want you guys are all handpicked into this room because we value your character, we value what you have done, and because we want to help you grow and push through some of the difficult stuff, so that you guys in a year are at a place of like, oh, I could carry some more weight. So for me, I have 3 kids. I had 1 kid, and I thought my life was completely over, and I had no energy constantly ever. Had the second kid, and it was like, oh, I can kind of do, and then the third kid, it was like, we have another kid? Okay, cool. But your capacity grows, right? Genuinely, your capacity grows as you carry heavier things, and you actually don't notice. The thing that was really annoying you that first year, you're like, oh yeah, there's that. I don't even think about it anymore because I've grown in maturity, grown in ability, discernment, vision, that type of thing. And so you don't really get those opportunities unless you put yourself into that difficult space.
And the freedom is nobody in this room has anything to earn. As you are leading this year, I have to keep this in mind. All of us have to keep this in mind, is that our identities are in Jesus, like period. There is nothing to earn. It has been given. Out of that, we get to lead effectively. Out of that, we get to care for people. When it switches, it will be crushing. So we won't want that. Yeah, it will destroy you. And that is what we want to free you up with this whole year. We're gonna meet with, at times, and it's gonna be like, I don't know if I can do this. I feel like I'm failing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna say your identity is not, and how well you are doing or think you are doing. It is in Christ.
That's right.
And we have given you 3 expectations, and we try to say them to you anytime we see you or talk about this. Does anybody remember the 3 expectations for being in leadership? It's totally fine if you don't. Said it in interviews. It's on the shirt. I'm just kidding. Stop.
What if it wasn't? Right. I remember them.
Write these down, because they are the expectations that you can look at and say, I'm doing well. I'm doing leadership well. And we want you to follow Jesus. And I'm going to talk about this more, but we want you to be running after the Lord and growing and caring about your relationship with Him, and doing whatever that means, spiritual disciplines, confession, things like that. And that's point number 2, is we want you to be honest and open. So there's not a lot of things more freeing than showing up to your life group when you feel like you have to have it all together, and you just don't, because you've had the worst week ever. You've got an exam, and you're probably not going to pass it, and whatever else, and saying, I am struggling. Like, I don't want to do this right now, and I'm struggling with shame and fear and whatever else. So we want you to be the first to confess. Like, that is a mark of spiritual maturity and good leadership as leaders wherever you are, is openness and honesty. And then the last one, you're all going to have a coach. They're going to be older than you. You'll all be in coaching groups. A lot of you have seen this. We want you to utilize your coach. I'm going to talk more about that as well, but we're giving you an older believer who has been where you are and done it well. Ask them for help. That is what they are there for. Trust them when they speak into your lives. And trust us as well, because we care about y'all a lot. And the whole point of this is for us to be pouring into you.
Yeah, and that specifically as well, I mean, you'll have direct communication with your coach, which we want to press you in on that, because that's actually growing them. Because that's actually how the body works. It's not about, so once you get to one level, well, now you're hanging out with this level of maturity. No, and then you go to another level, and then all the immature people are hanging out down here with one guy going, all right, come on. It's all of us working together, right? So don't feel like you're burdening your coach. Your coach is growing from that, and they're not going to do it perfectly either, but they're willing and wanting to hang out with you and pour into you. As well, we I want to hang out with you. I want to get to know you. I want to be a resource for you, and hear how things are going, so that I can best pastor our church through you guys, and hear the stories that you're having, so I can bring those to our pastors and our staff as we're praying through shepherding and leading in our city.
Yeah, you're not alone. You're on a team, both with each other. Like, part of the reason we want to do a leadership weekend, part of the reason we do coaching groups is so that you can lean on one another and talk to each other about leading, but also coaches, us, we are there for you.
Yep.
We're your lifeline. So just like every time there is a question, it is not too small to be like, I just don't know how to have this conversation. That's great. That's what they're there for. Call them.
Yep.
Ask them how to do it.
I think when I pull back and I think of this, of where we want you to be in 10 years, how we want you to be developed as leaders, I genuinely think that in this room are the next generation of leaders at Midtown or wherever else you are in life. I think we have our next generation of residents, staff, pastors, and even for those in the room that aren't going to be in ministry, we want you to be the person wherever you are, whatever church you're a part of, that your pastors, that your leaders over you say, that's the person that I want to go to, that I can rely on, that has the capacity to do that. And that is the vision of, that's where I see you in 10 years in terms of your growth. Point number 2 for why it's good for you is, we've already talked about it, but we want you to grow in your walk with Jesus. So I personally don't know how to grow more, like we have said, than to carry weight. So for me personally, I started leading a life group, I guess my junior year of college, and I was very reluctant to do so. I didn't really feel confident about it. I was very nervous, and immediately, like when I started taking over, it was really hard. There is no possible scenario where it will be as hard. I think just carrot shoes out the wazoo, for seeming ever. But for me, that was helpful to say, I can't do anything about this. I have to rely on Jesus. And I think that, if anything, this year as you were leading, I know of no other better way to rely on the Lord than to be dealing with people, to be leading people, and to go to Him in that. And what we've already said with your coach and with us, you have people, I think it's a really big thing to have people in your life who are older Christians who are accessible to you. And that's what we want you to have, is older believers who you can go to with anything and just say, what am I supposed to do about this? How am I supposed to pray about this? What do I need to be talking about? What do I need to be reading? How do I read this? Anything like that. I think that this year we are providing a lot to where you will be able to grow in your walk with the Lord. So
Yeah, even on a practical end, for me, one of the biggest pressing things for me was when I came around and was doing more things with Midtown. I was given events, and I'm very much a hands-on, or at that time I had to be involved with everything in regard to events, so I had to be controlling every piece of it. And when one thing would not go the way that I planned on it going, I didn't know how to deal with it. And internally, I was really frustrated. Well, externally, I was really frustrated. And everyone I was like, Jay's pissed. He's pissed. I had a hoodie. I threw my hoodie up, and it turned into a thing. Like, oh, Jay's got mad hoodie on. He's mad. He's steaming over there about something. And without those opportunities, genuinely, I would have probably never dealt with those type of frustrations. I wouldn't have gone to Adam and say, I don't want to do this anymore. He said, no, you just don't want to do it the way you are doing it. You need to learn to delegate, and that means you need to learn to lead people instead of just doing the things. Because when you're at the event, you're doing everything, and you're trying to tell people what to do, but you're not able to lead people. I wouldn't be doing this now if I wasn't willing to go through that crappy time. Same thing when I had a kid. I didn't know that I had control issues, and I cannot make can't force a kid to stop crying. I just can't. I have to release that control and go, oh, I'm not, oh, well, okay, now what? Right? So I get to rely on the Lord and beg the Lord to get the baby to stop crying. Because I've changed a diaper, he's fed, still dealing with it. Right? But genuinely, if we're not pressed on any of those things, if we stay in a bubble of our best friends who act the way that we like to act and we have good chemistry and we're here and we're never pressed with somebody who might be a little annoying who hasn't been a Christian that long, or we're pressed with somebody who's annoying who has been a Christian a long time, who thinks they're super mature, that's actually for our growth. So we grow as we help others grow, and it's beautiful because that's the hands and feet of God. That is how the body of Christ works. The body of the church works, and we get to live in that because of the gospel. Since our identity isn't in, I need to look a certain way, it's in, all right, I'm frustrated with this person, I'm annoyed by them, I've been treating them poorly. I get to go to them and say, hey, I'm sorry. Because I don't have to live up to anything because Christ already did it for me. Right? I can actually go to the lowest place because Christ went there. He went to the lowest place. So we could have his righteousness, and I don't have to be somebody I'm not anymore because I already have his righteousness, which is the best I could ever be anyway. So now I get to lay down all my vulnerability in those relationships, and Christ is glorified, and he uses us and matures us, and it's beautiful. So anyway, I went on a little tangent there.
Yeah, you're good. And I think, I'm trying to find the right words. I think there's this weird concept. I think the word we use is Christian consumerism. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's like you talk to people and they're like, well, I really want to grow, so I need to find someone who will just like pour in to me. And like, will decide, and I don't have time to do this thing. I don't have time to lead a life group because like I'm just pouring out in so many areas, and I just need an area that pours in to me. And it's like, you don't understand how this works. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying, just to clarify, don't have healthy boundaries. Yeah. Don't do self-care. Don't say yes to everything to where you can never care about yourself. No, of course not. And no, it's the opposite, actually. Like, the way you grow is not being about you. It's, now I am going to pour out. I'm going to care more about them than me. It's like, yeah, that's growth. That's called humility. That's called, and so it's just like, I really want us not to be that way. I want us to push into that and see how that actually just doesn't work. Because it's like, if we're always just chasing the next thing to pour into us, then we never actually get to the part where we're going out and making disciples. Which is the point. Like, we're in a world where people don't know Jesus, and we do. We have the good news. Yeah. We have something that saves them. So we kind of need to get over ourselves a little bit and be like, yeah, absolutely, I want to grow in this. I want to change in this way. And you don't know Jesus. And so that I'm going to care a lot more about that than whether or not I know how to break down the Greek in the book of John. Even though it's great to break down the Greek in the book of John. So I don't know if that makes sense. A little soapbox. But hope that sticks. Yeah.
That's good. The third and last point, it's not the most biblical thing.
Wait a second.
Whoa,
it's a good thing.
That's not true.
Pause the video.
No, we want you to thank us for this year when you're 35, which sounds kind of weird. Let me unpack it a little bit. So there is a football coach.
That's only like one more year.
We'll get to that.
Thank you.
There's a football coach. I won't tell you where he coaches, but his football team is very good, and he's a great guy.
You got it.
Yeah, yes, man. Wow. So he is known to be an incredible recruiter. So his program has been transformed just because of the way that he recruits football players, right? So when he goes to these kids, these college students, high schoolers' houses, a lot of other coaches will say things like, this is our history, this is how many championships you're going to win, you're going to be a millionaire because I'm going to get you drafted, I'm going to get you in the NFL because you're going to be awesome if you come here. This football coach says, he sits down with them He doesn't say any of that. He just says, because of what you're about to go through here, you're gonna thank me for this when you're 35. He's not all about what he can get from that football player. He is about, I want to shape this person so that when they do go to the NFL, if they can, they're a certain type of person. They're better for playing at this school. And that's what we want for y'all, is when you're 35, which is a long way away, except for Jay. It's like tomorrow. For you to say, hey, that year I was on Midtown College leadership, that was really important.
Yeah.
That really mattered to me. That wasn't a wasted year.
Yeah.
That wasn't just another opportunity. That was something that really changed the way I lead and walk with Jesus.
That's right. Yeah, and I think Garrison said this earlier too, but certainly we want to get some things done. Like in ministry wise, we want to get things done. But we've said this forever. We want to get you guys done. Like we want to get you guys grown up as we get ministry done. We're not trying to use you to get ministry done. We want to use ministry to actually get people done. And so, yeah, hopefully in 10 years, you're not going, yeah, I kind of felt like I got burnt out that year. I felt like they just kind of dumped a bunch of stuff on me. And then in the year, it was kind of like, all right, thanks. Good job. Great job. Did you see the shirts we made? That was fun. That was a fun shirt. We just don't care about that. We don't care about that as much, right? We want to see you guys in a year, or 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever, on pace and not coming, just falling off of the mountaintop of Jesus, right? But like, oh God, I'm dead. But genuinely having a pace of life of, yeah, I can see this. I can see the point of it in my spiritual walk when I'm 35. That I was continued on pace with loving Jesus, loving my neighbor, because that's what we're called to.
Yeah, I was even. I think the way that I think about this the most, or is the most clear to me, is Jay and I actually were in a meeting probably 3 to 6 months ago, something like that. And he was just asking me how I was doing, and I was like, yeah, connecting with God is hard right now. It's just not easy. It's hard for me to run to him because of some things going on in my life. And he looks at me and goes, yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, man. If a year from now, 300 people went to First Five, and we have 1,000 people in college life groups, and you and Jesus aren't doing well, that's kind of a loss. Like we missed. Because that's great. I want those things to happen, and I think those are great things to run towards. But I don't want to see any of you guys in 5 years and be like, how are you in Jesus? Oh, I don't really do the Jesus thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, we messed up. Like and of course we can't control that. I'm not trying to say that, but it's like, I don't actually care about how many people are in your life group. I care about your love for Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that for us is like our compass.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's it. We don't know what God's about to do in this next year. I think it's going to be good, and we're going to continue to pray for that. What we're going to do next.
Let's do. You want to do the Q&A first? Then we go and selfie guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're gonna go into some breakup individual time for maybe 30 minutes or so. Is there any questions from what we've been talking about, or just anticipating for the weekend that we could answer now, or that we can plan on? Feel free to ask anything. All over.
Yeah, man.
So is this like? So this should be my bad memory. I had like a really long summer. So like, were we like officially asked to be a part of this, or was it just kind of like drag and drop, and then like pray about it, try it out, yay or nay type thing?
Yeah. You were officially asked to be a part of this.
Okay. Okay.
But we can talk more about it on a personal level.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, you're good.
You're here right now. That means you've accepted. And now you're here.
Just making sure.
Great question. Any other questions?
Talk more later.
Yeah. Anything we can clear up? Any nervousness that we can just talk about, have dialogue on.
Will there be more events like this where we will meet up throughout the semester?
We are going to try. So this is on your calendars, and we'll go through all that. But after every life group leader meeting, some of you have been to them. All of you are now invited to all of them. There are 2 or 3 per semester. They usually go till about 8:30 or 9, and then afterwards for 30 minutes, we are all going to meet up and do this.
So that's a great question. We've been trying to figure out what's going to be the best avenue for this, and so we're trying it out. We're trying some stuff out. We know that we knew we were going to have this weekend, and then we have member weekend next weekend, which will have a college portion in that.
Friday morning.
And then a month later, we'll have member meeting, or a life group leader meeting. And so there's some built-in stuff. So instead of just adding more things to the calendar, just adding to those actual meetings for now. I think we're totally up to throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what happens and seeing what works.
I think our ideal, this may not be reality, but I think we want to do something like this once a semester. So that is our goal. That doesn't mean that will work out exactly, but we're trying to at least have 2 weekends where it's just kind of us, and we can maybe talk a little bit about looking forward, maybe do a little bit of content so that we can all, but also just kind of be together and get a little bit of a okay.
And so we'll need y'all's feedback on that too.
Yeah,
So the door's wide open on, hey, maybe this would be a good idea. So we'd love that.
Yeah, trying not to, and Jay even said this, it's like we're trying not to just overwhelm you with things. So it's like we do not want to do something just to do it. So it's like if things like let's do a weekly meeting would be good, then I think we are okay moving towards that long term, but we didn't want to start there.
Yep. So
I was gonna ask about right now the church is kind of doing some dinners, neighborhood dinners.
Yeah.
And the general push for that, where do college life groups fall in?
Yeah. So actually, Tim, probably maybe this week, USC is the 6th neighborhood. That's the language we're going to use. And so you're going to hear things like every group around the pool, neighborhood mission dinners. We won't do a neighborhood mission dinner because this is kind of our neighborhood mission dinner. But it's like when they say neighborhood, I want all of us to think USC. And we're going to, actually tomorrow morning session is all about proactive mission for college life groups. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but that's the short answer.
Okay.
that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Glad you asked it.
Anything else? How are we feeling about this?
Yeah.
Cool. You're here, so hopefully that means excited. Yeah.
Has there ever been any talk of ministry on other colleges, other than USC?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great question.
Just wondering, because I know there's a lot of talk, and I'm assuming that everyone here is at USC or Midlands.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and so again, just we want to start at USC. So this is brand new. So it's like in 2-3 years, we would love to, if things go well, to have groups at CIU and groups at Columbia College, fill in the blanks. But it's like, let's start here.
I would say if we had any, I don't know. Do we have any groups meeting at CIU or Two Notch or Columbia?
I think
We've had some meetings.
I know that
past,
some pastors have talked about they have done stuff at Benedict or
Right, and it's more about what there. So I think if I would say if we had 2 life groups meeting at Benedict or CIU or Two Notch or Columbia College or anywhere else, they would be here as well.
And
so it's more about what's already
absolutely
happening. Yeah.
And there's a little bit of so we're so we can't just go ask somebody that we don't know to lead a life group. That's not how our model works. And so it's like the way that would happen is a CIU student went to Midtown, was ready to be a life group leader, and then we would have a conversation about, hey, we want you actually to maybe start a group at CIU.
Sure.
And so I just can't reverse engineer that.
We want that though.
But yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Other questions? Anything? Great. Great.
Cool.
So love to keep having conversations. More questions like that I think will be helpful. So what we're about to do is go into a little bit of some self-eval time, really just some time to pray and just kind of reflect, ask some questions, and then the questions are on there. I kind of wanted to zoom out just a little bit, or just kind of give you guys a picture. For us as Midtown, about 12 years ago, we sat in a room that was smaller and darker and more sad than this, in a basement, and we implemented some things that you guys have probably experienced: to confess, repent, encourage one another, pray for one another, that sort of thing. And the whole reason we did that is, well, for one, it's biblical, but two, we understood that the people in the room, it was our first member meeting, it was about 30 people. So if you just kind of imagine that, this is the room. This is the squad, right? And honestly, we were all probably about 25 years old. So, I was like 21, I think. But we were sitting there and we were spending time talking about what we wanted to see in Columbia. And we just realized, we gotta obey the Bible here. And so, just understanding, we are the people in this room is the college ministry at University of South Carolina. Anything that happens at University of South Carolina is happening because of you guys. And I want you guys to feel that, not in like a burden, but in a, wow, that the Lord wants to use us to do something like that. So last year we had how many people in life groups? We had about 250 college students in life groups. Life groups is not the end-all be-all, but we believe that people hear the gospel and experience the gospel often in life groups, at least in my experience. And so that's a beautiful thing that you guys are leading out in. I would say we probably had about 400 unique people come to First Five last year. And that's just incredible. Like, the reach in this room is incredible. And I love that the Lord is using that. And so a couple of things, I just want to hit some of these scriptures. Because the health in this room is going to determine the health of our college ministry, right? And so even part of when we started doing First Five, it was a little bit of, let's see what happens, okay? And we learned, we need to do this. We need what this is, so that when we do First Five, there's a direction. And so a little bit of putting the cart before the horse, I would say, but we didn't know that. We thought that that's what we needed to do first, was First Five. And really, I think what we need to do first is this. And now we learned that, right? And we don't need to do brunch anymore. But at least right now, maybe we might do some brunches.
Long term,
but the reality is, this is where it starts. So if you guys are not healthy, if you guys are not loving Jesus, if you guys are not confessing and repenting and living in the light of the freedom of the glory of Christ, then we're not. The ministry's not going to happen on campus, right? We're not going to be leading out in a healthy way. And so part of that is dealing with frustrations and bitterness and getting it out, because that's just a cancer, right? So if I have beef with Kirby about something, and we'll deal with it. But genuinely, I've seen it happen in life groups. I've seen it happen on staffs. If there's no space to deal with that, then it just becomes a cancer, and then somebody's leaving. Somebody's going to leave, or there's going to be a split, right? So we're going to deal with our sin, because we can. we have a place that we can go with it, right? And so we always want to, especially in these scenarios, because we're family and this is the squad, let's dig in deep and go, all right, Lord, is there anything that I have against someone, or I believe someone has against me, that I just don't want to turn into anything? Just want to go to them and say, hey, is there anything here? I got nothing to prove. All I got is Jesus. All I have is Christ. That is all I have. On like the lowest end, like, man, all I have is Christ. And on the, oh my God, all I have and care about is Christ. Right? So we have it on both ends. And so I just want to read a couple of these scriptures, because we're not making it up. That's what I try to tell in life group. Like whenever we read scriptures to one another, it's like, dude, I can tell you a bunch of advice, but here's why we're here. This is the Bible. You do with it what you want, but this is the Bible. I didn't make it up. I'm not making it up to make you feel better. And so Luke 17:3, pay attention to yourselves. If your brother sins, rebuke him. If he repents, forgive him. Rebuke means to put appropriate weight on something, not coming at them hard or in anger, but in love. Matthew 18:15, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother in Christ. The situation here is someone has sinned against you. Jesus says it's actually your responsibility to go to them. This is Matthew 5:23. So if you are offering a gift at the altar and there you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother and then come offer your gift. So yeah, this is how we avoid church splits in general. This is how we avoid you being a junior and going, I can't. I'm not gonna do ministry anymore. I'm not gonna do the Jesus thing anymore. This is how we avoid frustrations in our own life groups. We get to go to one another. We get to lay it down because of the cross. If you're not sure how to do that, if there's like, I don't really know how to have this conversation, that's great. That's the prompting is there for us, right? And that's across the board for anybody. That is just because I'm a pastor and I'm 45 at this point. I'm like 45. Yeah. Just because I'm a pastor and however many years older, I'm not immune to that. That there is a door always open that somebody can come in and say, "Hey, man, I feel like this is an issue, and I need to talk about it because it's not hurting me if you hold bitterness in, right? You think it is, but you're eating the rat poison, right? Like, I mean, you're the one who's eating the rat poison if you hold bitterness for someone else because they're going, I had no idea. But you're the one actually causing cancer. So I want to give you freedom to let that stuff go. If there is anything, I know of nothing, so it's not like I know that Sophie's got to deal with some stuff. Okay. That might be happening though. Did I just speak that over you guys? Anyway, so I think we're going to take 30 minutes. I know it's getting a little late, but I think this would be an important thing to end on tonight. If Gary, you want to walk through any of it?
Yeah, I think the way to think of it too is as we go through prayer, I want you to look at how's your prayer life. We don't want to be self-reliant people, so throughout the year, we're going to do a lot of things. You're going to be leading a lot of people. Ultimately, we can't change people. We can't save people. We need God to do it.
That's right.
And also the same thing with our sin. We need God to be changing our hearts, transforming us. And the way a lot of that happens, the way that we give that to Him is by praying. And Jay set up relationships well. So looking at how are your relationships? Is there anybody in the room that you have beef with? And then looking at gospel beliefs. So just how's your belief towards the Lord? Just looking at that. And I think as we do that, like Jay said, we can confront, we can talk to about sin, but also we confess. And we say, yeah, I don't have a great prayer life right now. I really need to. Can we pray right now? And talking about your gospel beliefs. So
yeah, so even for this weekend, the thing that I kept asking, I asked my life group to pray for all of us and our pastors and staff today. The weather's not going to be great, but even if the weather was awesome and we grilled, we had good food, and we were playing cards, and we're making the best jokes, and there's a boat, and we're boating it, and we have a great weekend, and it's a great weekend, and it ends at that. This is a great weekend, right? But unless we are just begging Jesus to do something here, if we're just like, we gave some great talks, okay, but if God's not working and He's not doing the work, it's for nothing. It was a good weekend. We went to the lake and it was fun. That's not what we want it to be fun, but we really just begging the Holy Spirit to do something, to work in all of our hearts individually, and then also collectively as a family. And we're so we'll take 30 minutes. We'll take 30 minutes. So we'll be back in here. Matter of fact, while we 10 o'clock. We'll come back in here, and we're just going to spend 10 minutes praying there, and then at 10 o'clock we'll pray for 10 minutes or however long, and then we'll be done. Cool. Good with that?
Sounds great.
Good stuff.
Good for your spread
All right, yeah,
out.
go find the space. Is there a light at the dock? Because that would be nice if there was a light down there. A light down at the dock. Anybody wants to go down there?
It's raining.